Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. And in today's video, I am going to discuss a comment that was brought up in a prepping forum. Or it was a post that led to a bunch of comments. And I think the guy made several very reasonable, assertions. Um, that might not change my outlook. Uh, and some of it was hypothetical. It was his, big prepping goals. Uh, Let me remove the cat that is currently in heat, and I'll be right back. But his comment was, is there anyone else out there prepping to set up kind of like um, a trading hub, or like a frontiers outpost kind of thing? Because that's what I'm doing, and if anyone else is doing that, let me know your understanding. And he said this is completely open to debate, and let's discuss it. I'm gonna get my pizza going in the oven. Just a thin crust pepperoni. I'll open the packaging and keep the conversation going. Then I'll pause the video again, and you won't see me walk away from the camera and put this in the oven. And so someone asked him, can you further explain kind of what your thought process is? What's your goal in doing this? What steps have you done to kind of put yourself in the position to offer that sort of thing? And I think the guy explained it fairly well. So he explained he had some property, and he had purchased a few shipping containers and was building kind of a secure, shop. He said, I kind of describe it as, what you see at those real high-end pawn shops or even scrap yards and stuff, where they've got the thick, probably bullet-resistant or bulletproof glass. And his big goal was to have tunnel network set up for his his house and stuff. One person said, you're sitting here explaining all of this, and if someone learns about this, then they're just going to exploit it. And someone made the comment of it kind of reminded him of Fallout. It's strictly a barter system. Maybe there's some sort of, currency involved for the trading. But he said it was mostly going to be based off of barter. The guy said he was older, so he doesn't really see himself, trekking through the woods, or trying to set up shop somewhere, or, surviving the apocalypse. But he thinks his chances of survival are high because he's creating an on-demand economy, or a market system that will start running as soon as, crap hits the fan. So that's his way of there not being a interruption in the system. There'll be a much lower chance of, having to deal with, crazy, fanatical, starving people, because he believes right now they're going to their Walmarts and stuff, and when those aren't around, he's around. Part of his setup for this is, he didn't say how old he was, he just said he was older, so I'm guessing 50 plus. And this part I can kind of believe. He set up connections with farmers, and he's I don't really think converts the right word, but he's got them on the same boat as he is. He's buying locally from them now and storing, their goods. He's canning, meats that they provide. He's preserving eggs. Um, he's preserving fruits and vegetables. And he said part of that is it's cheaper for him to, you know, shop locally with those people to consume what he needs to consume. But he also purchases extra to, put away on the shelves. Um, Says it's supporting his local economy. And, they've kind of said, as long as we're not interrupted, uh, then, we can keep this, going. Um, he's created himself a job. You know, preppers talk about you want soldiers and doctors and teachers and stuff within their mags or their mutual assistance groups. Um, and he's given himself a job that alleviates some of the work where, let's say, this person deals in vegetables and this person deals in fruits, and they both consume, you know, a certain amount, and then they have extra. Instead of them having to do the work to exchange and trade stuff, he's doing that for them. Um, all through society, we have created middlemen for different things, and it alleviates a lot of the, um, you know, the problems. So, for instance, a farmer used to do the farming on their property, harvest their stuff, load it up, take it into a town to sell it at a market. In some cases, that's still done, but we kind of said, hey, the farmer, does the farming. He might do the harvesting. He might bring someone else in to do the harvesting. In a lot of ways, someone else loads the stuff up, someone else transports it, and someone else sells it. Um, it depends on how small your community is, whether, we'll revert back to those older ways, or if we'll continue to have middlemen. The deal that he set up, we're probably going to keep that middleman. He's also putting away supplies that, locals are making. He said he's purchasing reloaded ammo. Um, he's buying, homemade stuff that people have. Um, and I think it's a great idea. Um, my level of prepping, I'm purchasing everything and stockpiling it to the roofs. I went through a phase where all my prep money went into toilet paper at Walmart. Got to the point where I was, you know, sitting on years and years worth of toilet paper. Then I went through a phase where I, you know, picked up water containers. Then I went through a phase where it was just rice and beans and I was adding calories. Um, right now I'm doing um, Mountain House meals because I think food's super important. Uh, but if I'm being honest, I'm kind of lacking in the medical supplies department. I've got one basic suture kit, and I've got band-aids and some medicine and stuff, but I'm not super developed at that point. If you haven't figured out at this point, prepping is super expensive. And if you are still watching up to this point, um, thanks for still watching. I am thinking of doing live streams off of my computer because I can't do it on my cell phone yet. The camera on my computer, without me having to go out and buy a new camera, says it does 720p, which is a decent quality. And I'm thinking about, basically doing Q&As, talking about news-related stuff while I'm packing dry goods into mason jars or mylar bags, or while I'm reloading magazines and cleaning firearms. Something that gets done all the time, but I can kind of hit two birds with one stone. I can release content and, get work done that y'all don't see a lot of on the camera. So if you're interested in that, comment down below. If people don't comment on it, I'm still probably going to do it, and you'll be able to watch those videos as if I was just pre-recording it and uploading it. But we'll see how things work. If y'all like that, then I might make it a weekly or bi-weekly, live stream thing. But back to this guy's idea. Some of the cons that a lot of people were pushing out is he said that he's an older person. Is he able to defend that giant supply of stuff? He has kind of mitigated that by kind of building a secure-ish structure. But I didn't see anywhere in the discussion, if he had certain people that were also willing to defend it. A lot of those really high-end pawn shops have security because they have super expensive stuff. And in a grid down situation, food and certain supplies like that might be, worth more than gold. And certain people will probably do certain things if they get desperate enough to, think about robbing the guy. So, they said security was probably going to be a big deal. I remember watching, one of my favorite episodes of Doomsday Prepper was the guy that had invested almost $1 million or nearly $1 million into building a castle. He had buried a couple of shipping containers underground and had basically built the entire thing out of cinder blocks and concrete and rebar and stuff. And I think in the show it was only like halfway done. And he'd put away a bunch of MREs and food and water and stuff. And he basically said, I have a castle. I'm willing to withstand a siege, and I think I can outlast anyone attacking me. And historically speaking, some sieges lasted years. Things got, seriously desperate inside. And one of your big disadvantages is, you can lock yourself away and, hopefully outsupply the people around you. But the people around you can hold you in. And, there was literally stories of armies, leaving enough people there to keep them in, going back home, collecting their harvest, and bringing it back with them, and no changes. They also pillage everything around them. And at some point, you might have to, exit the defense and, start the offense. And so, that's something to think about. I think every prepper should have a bug out plan, a bug out location. It's your backup idea. But I think your best bet is, trying to sit it out within your home, because, even though our home is brick and it's got a lot of windows, it's a lot stronger than being out in the open. I know just in rice alone, I couldn't carry all of my supplies. You lose it. And we're partially stubborn. We spent a lot of money and time preparing for this. And so this man was relying on, a system that he's putting in place. And he really didn't have an end goal for, if his system failed or collapsed or anything. So, something else to keep in mind if this is, your thought process, your idea, obviously in a perfect world where you had plenty enough money, you would put up high enough and thick enough walls that you could make yourself completely self sufficient within those walls, within those boundaries. Um, but just like your history lesson, for those of that don't know much about the Alamo, 180 defenders against um, accounts of anywhere from 2,000 to 7,000 um, soldiers in the Mexican army, and historians debate what would be a sufficient number to hold the Alamo. Uh, because in the beginning days, they would kind of launch an attack on this wall, and some defenders that were defending the other wall would come and repel that and leave, small enough force on the other side. And then that attack would fail, and they'd come at the other side, and those guys would go over there. And eventually, one of the big reasons why it fell, one, it was a numbers thing. Um, you know, just the sheer amount of attackers to defenders. But when they started attacking on all sides, they weren't able to completely fill up the entire fort. Um, some accounts say, just doubling the force would have made it impossible. Um, but other accounts say, you could have up to 1,000 defenders in there. Um, they argue back and forth mostly logistics wise because it was a siege. They couldn't, you know, get out and, come back in without being attacked. So if you get to that number of people that can successfully defend each wall, it had a well in it. It had a creek running close enough by that they could go out and get water from said creek, but they couldn't hold enough heads of cattle and beans just to feed the people, let alone also have enough, ammunition and gunpowder to maintain that number to defend themselves. So if you build a big enough compound that you can be self-sufficient on the inside, then you run into that numbers game of, okay, you can remain self-sufficient for a certain amount of time, but it mostly depends on how many people you have inside to successfully defend it. Are you able to produce everything you need to defend the entire thing? Slash, do you have the space to keep your army fed? Because, you make it big enough to be self-sufficient for 10 people, uh, but you need 20 to defend it. You have a bad, crop yield one year, and your, you know, mills were already, empty. It's really hard to get that perfect middle balance. Uh, and it doesn't matter if you had 100 years worth of food put away, if they can maintain themselves outside of the wall for 101 years, then eventually you're going to run into an issue. But I do really like this idea. I think it's something that preppers will argue back and forth whether you should offer supplies that could be used against you. So if you're feeding someone that at one point could turn against you, it's better to let them starve. If you're providing them ammunition or clothing or medical supplies that can be used to treat their wounded but not your wounded, or to shoot your people or shoot their people. And that's why a lot of preppers either lone wolf it, keep it within their family, and these mutual assistant groups are, seriously few and far between. Because, I'm going to use the example of The Walking Dead. even people that are allies, you trust them completely. Um, Motives can change. The payout from the other person can be better than the payout you got. Um, Even though they're loyal to the group, um, most people probably put their family first and they're looking out for them. Um, they might, you might consider it selfish because they're looking out for their skin and not the skin of all of those around them. So those are things to keep in mind. Is it something that I would do if I had enough money? Honestly, probably. If I had the funds to build a fortress that I felt safe enough that I could trade supplies. Um, because even at a basic level, say you had a cart full of a bunch of stuff, you rolled into an area and it's like, hey, I've got stuff to barter and trade with you. Going back to a Fallout reference, there's wandering merchants. Um, you have the option to shoot those merchants and just take all their stuff anyway. Um, in the short run, you got a bunch of stuff. And if merchants keep coming to the area and you keep being successful at that, then it's a certain level of sustainability. Um, but if that merchant got good results out of that area and keeps coming back with more stuff, better stuff, um, that's also another sustainable way to keep supplies coming in. So it's something really cool to think about. I think almost every prepper fantasizes what they do if they won the lottery. And I'd really like a castle. If I had a castle and I could put away, you know, you know the way you could even think about it is if you were able to put away every bit of food that you'd ever want and that you'd ever need for your entire life, your entire family's life, um, even your kids. And you're probably alive long enough for grandkids and just maybe a little bit of the great grandkids. I don't know. Um, Say you get all the supplies put away that you ever need. You've got it spread out so you don't have all your eggs in one basket. Um, and you instill the lifestyle in your kids that you always maintain this or you do the best that you can, to maintain these supplies. Because when you pass away, your kids are looking out for themselves, their kids, their grandkids, maybe their great grandkids. Um, then I could see anything above that point. I think that's the maximum, uh, level of preparedness. And if you had the bottomless pit to do it, it's a good idea. Um, but in the short term, we're always prepping for that next scenario. There are small scale SHTF situations that preppers deal with every day, regular people deal with every day, whether it's weather uh, related or natural disaster related, um, economically related, politically related. I've made several videos talking about Ukraine and Russia and how that could turn into an issue for us. Um, I think most of us in our lifetime can probably only, you know, at least have a nice safety net for our family and those around us to weather long conflicts, upwards of 10 or 15 years. Um, and after that, it's up to the next generation to, see everything you did and continue on with that lifestyle. Because, I mentioned it a lot, I've got about a year and a half's worth of food put away. Um, if I never touch any of it, um, except for the working pantry, it stays sealed up, it stays good. And my kids don't, care for that lifestyle. Maybe they eat it or they donate it, or they just trash it because they think it's gone bad. Then they're starting over from scratch. So, you could be putting in all of this effort, and if that SHTF situation never happens, the way we romanticize it or fantasize about it, um, then you've got a great life purpose. I think your lifestyle is a good lifestyle to have because I think everyone should be prepared. Um, but for your idea to continue to work, you know, you say you're older. If you think something's going to happen, within your lifetime, I think it's a good idea. Um, but you could also be putting a lot of time and money into something that, you know, even if it ends in 3 generations, um, then it's a decent sized legacy. But a lot of people also say generational wealth is wiped out after 3 generations. Um, so prepare for your situation. If you think you're preparing the best way possible, it's just like with a fitness goal, whether you're trying to lose weight, gain muscle, um, just become fitter, increase your mobility, stuff like that. There's not a one size fits all approach. Um, some preppers continuously put away years and years and years worth of food every year, and they never feel like they've accomplished their goals. Other preppers feels like, you know, the longest situation they think they might have to weather. They've got the safety net, they've got the tools and stuff, put up to be sustainable. Um, but their goals might look different than uh, your goals. So, with that, um, I encourage you to watch other videos of mine, especially if you're a new prepper, because my take's a little bit different than the next guy's. Um, I have goals set. I accomplish them, and I continue to move forward, and that's all I can ask for. Um, if you feel like this video would benefit a friend or family member, then share it with them and ask them to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, then subscribe to the channel. And then lastly, like the video if you enjoy my content, and leave a comment down below if you'd like me to do live streams. Catch you in the next one.